Hey everybody, what's going on? This is Jared with Water the Nation's Rage, and today I have a little bit of somewhat of a different video for you. So if you're a regular watcher of my channel, you might not really be interested in this video because it has to do with mechanics for a very specific vehicle, this 2000 Honda Passport. Okay, so it's really just for people to use as a reference in the future if you want any tips or pointers on fixing this particular problem. And that problem is the serpentine belt either coming loose or breaking off, which in my case it actually broke off. The belt itself broke in half. The reason why is because, well, I got this diagram here to make it a little bit easier to explain. So the serpentine belt goes around each one of these pulleys, and you got your alternator, you've got your crankshaft down here at the bottom of the engine, your compressor, then you got your power steering right here. This is the pulley that goes to your fan and your water pump. So each one of these numbers corresponds to this list. Very simple. And all I did is I looked it up on Google. I searched Google Images. I think I put in 2000 Honda Passport serpentine diagram in Google Images, and I searched it, and it brought up a series of pictures for me to look at, but I think this one right here is the most descriptive one as far as, you know, labeling everything. And it's got the, I guess even if you can't read or something, it's got the pictures here so that you can identify each pulley to the part that it's connected to. Okay, so this is what I'm gonna use to get my new serpentine belt that I just bought back on, because without this I'm already gonna have a hard enough time probably, but without that it would be just very time consuming and aggravating, I think. Also, another thing to let you know about is if you need to make this fix on your Honda Passport and you have an advanced auto in your area, this is what I found to be the best thing to do if you've got a budget that you got to stay within, because these parts for these Hondas can get pretty expensive pretty quick. So what I did, or actually what my wife did, she's better at this than me, but we looked up the parts online, and with a store like Advanced Auto, you can basically order your parts online, and altogether the belt and this pulley right here, this goes back to what actually happened to the truck yesterday when it broke down. That's the part I'm going to be replacing. Alright, this right here, this is the tensioner pulley, and from what I understand, it's very common for the tensioner pulley, or this right here, this is called the idler pulley. Number 5, idle pulley, or idler pulley. It's very common for those to the bearings in them will wear out, and it'll basically just seize up, and that's what happened to this tensioner pulley. It's seized up. The bearing in here, I guess after so long it just got too much wear in it and it seized up. Well, before that happened, when the truck was running, it made a squeaky sound. It kind of sounded like a belt slipping, but it was kind of more metal on metal squeak. And I knew that it was one of the pulleys, but I wasn't sure which one it was. Well, it ended up being the belt tensioner pulley. So what I've got here is a fresh one to go back on the truck. You're going to need some tools to do this. If you're trying to do this, you're going to need a few tools. First of all, you're going to need a ratchet with a 14mm socket. I don't know if you can see that or not, but that's 14mm socket. It's really a pretty simple fix, from what I understand. I've never done this before. I have worked on vehicles in the past and replaced certain components on engines before in the past, but I've never actually fixed the serpentine belt, so this will be interesting. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to try to, well, after I put the new pulley back on right here, this is where it goes. And after I do that, I'm going to try to get the belt back on. Well, this is the tensioner bracket that the tensioner pulley goes on. And from what I understand, you've got a bolt down here that you loosen up, and this thing is actually adjustable, and that's how you're going to get your belt back on. Especially if it actually broke off and you're just having to start from scratch like I am. Yeah, that's how you're going to get your belt to go back on and back around all these components. Okay, people, so after tinkering with this for quite a while, I got my belt back on. I got it around all the pulleys, just like it shows in the diagram. The main reason why I'm making this video for you is so that you'll know how to get this belt back on, because it is quite a pain. I mean, I've been tinkering with this thing for a couple of hours now. Everything else was easy. Even getting it on the pulleys and all that right there, that's easy. And this is easy too if you know what you're doing and you know how to do it. The thing is, I just realized something. Maybe it's just me, maybe I'm an idiot. But there is a very, very simple way to get the belt to go back on. After you have it around each one of these pulleys, you want to do it in a special order too, just to make it that much easier for you. First of all, you want to start out with your crankshaft pulley. You want to wrap the belt around the crankshaft. Okay? Next thing you want to do is bring it up around the water pump pulley. Then bring it back down around the compressor. Bring it up around the power steering, and then to over here to this idler. Then you want to wrap it around the alternator. Alright, that's where I'm at right now. I'm fixing to make the very last step to get this belt on. Right here at the tensioner. It's very simple if you know how to do it. Okay, I'm fixing to show you how to do it. But I just want to say that I found absolutely nothing about this online, which is a shame, and it's shocking actually. I found a lot of information about the belt tensioner itself, but everything that I found that suggested for me to do, I tried all of it and none of it worked. And then I just kept tinkering with it and messing with it, and I just realized something. Mechanics out there, y'all are gonna laugh at me and say I'm a moron because this is so simple. But people, laymen like me, just average people trying to work on their cars, need to know this tensioner right here, right here. you have to bring it down. You have to bring this pulley down closer to the bottom to get the belt on. Otherwise, you're not going to get the belt on without breaking it. Okay? So somehow this thing has to move, right? That was the issue that I had. I couldn't figure out how to move it, and anything I read online was inaccurate as far as information. Okay? So there is one other tool that you're going to need to do this. You need a breaker bar. Okay? If you don't know what a breaker bar is, this is a breaker bar. Now, I have one. Unfortunately, it's not the right size to fit my socket. So what did I do? I did the next best thing. I used a pole. I took this pole right here. It's just an average pole. Came off of a chain link fence or whatever. Any pole will do as long as your ratchet handle will fit up in it. Alright, and then I slid it over the ratchet handle. And you need that for leverage. So, check this out. Okay, so, I got my pole back on my ratchet handle. Okay? Push it to the right. And what it's going to do is it's going to activate the spring that's inside that housing right there for where the tensioner bracket is. This is the only way you're going to get this belt back on, is by doing this. Push it to the right as far as you can. You see how it's moving? You see that moving down there? Push it as far as you need to the right. When you get it all the way over there, slide your belt on, and that's that. Alright, so let me do that real quick. Alright, so there you go. Belt back on. Okay? Very, very, very simple. If you have that information. I just figured that out on my own after messing with it for 2 hours. Yes, in theory, I could have bought the little repair manual book for 20 bucks. But let's face it, I live on a budget, okay? So, when things break around here, I have to usually rely on myself and whatever information that I have available to me, i.e. the internet. So, and I mean, if you're like me, you know, crap's gonna happen, and when the crap happens, in no way is it partial. It happens to everybody. So that's the purpose of this video, is so that you can be prepared for stuff like this to happen, because it will happen. Okay, one last thing I want to show you is this bolt right here, right up above the alternator. This is the alternator down here. Okay, there was one thing that I had to do to get this tensioner bracket to move. This bolt right here, this is a 14mm bolt. I had to loosen it up to get this to actually move. Okay, so before you do what you just saw me do when I pushed the pole like that to get this to come down, you do want to loosen this up. Okay, it doesn't have to be taken out. Okay, don't take it out, just loosen it up, and then when you're done, tighten it back up, and you should be fine. Okay, so once you got that bolt tightened up down there, you should be good to go. Okay, now that I know how all this works, I love it. I love the design. It's very simple, very easy fix. Okay, so don't let it intimidate you. It's really not that big of a deal if you know what you're doing, if you know how to do it. Okay, so basically I'm good to go. Alright, I replaced my pulley here with a new pulley with a good bearing in it, so it should spin just fine. Okay, I got my belt back on. I've tightened the adjustment bolt back up on the tensioner, and from what I can see, the belt is perfect. Okay, it's perfectly aligned with every single pulley. And the good thing about this spring-loaded tensioner right here is just that. It's spring-loaded, so it automatically sets the perfect tension on the belt. So you don't have to worry about how much you should put on it or how little you should put on it. And the best way to check the tension on a belt to make sure it's good, just simply take the belt and turn it like this. Okay? If it turns at least 90 degrees without too much resistance, it's perfect. Okay? So basically now I'm ready to start the engine up. And from what I read online, it says to start the engine up, let it run for about 10 seconds, and then shut it off, just to let the belt line itself up when the engine starts turning. So I'm going to do that now. Okay, so I'm going to start the engine now. It was a little bit hesitant there. Everything's running though, everything's moving like it should. Now before, when I turned the engine on, I had a squeal. Like I said, it was from that pulley. The bearings in the pulley going bad. The squeal's gone now. I'm going to check my components. I know the alternator's working. If the alternator wasn't working, then there would be a light lit up, a battery light lit up, okay? So the alternator is working. Alright, now I'm going to check the AC. Compressor clicked on just fine. No problem. I'm going to check the power steering to make sure I got that back. Power steering pump's working just fine. I got my power steering back. Okay? So there you have it. Don't lose faith in yourself. If you come across this problem, don't lose faith. If you can man a ratchet, if you know how to use tools, then you shouldn't have really any problems doing this. Okay? So go ahead and give it a try. Thanks for watching my video, and I really hope that it helps you out there. Okay? Because I had to do a lot of research, and it took me a long time to figure out how this pulley system worked. So there you go. Hope it helps. Take it easy.